Hi, and welcome to the first edition of Simply Single for the new year 2015. Hopefully you had a fantastic holiday, you brought your new year in a grand way, and here we are back again with the ladies and I to talk about some more subjects that we hope you are getting something out of. But before we get started with our subject today, let's just do a little brief review of who we have talking with us. All right, first to my left is Ruth Carter, and Ruth is a business owner and is widowed as far as how she is single. Next to her we have Mindy Dunn, and Mindy lives in this area. Well, everybody lives in this area, but Mindy has a 12-year-old son, so divorcee, and raising her 12-year-old son. And next to Mindy is Dominique, or Dom Davis, who is the youngest in our bunch, and works and lives in this area as well, never married. And then we have Angel Ewing, who is also divorcee and a single parent, raising a 17-year-old high school senior, and we both know how that is. And then last but not least, of course, is our resident doctor, Dr. Renee Mobley, who also owns her own practice, a licensed psychologist and counselor, marriage and family therapist. And so these are the ladies, and we have a good time talking about lots of different subjects. And wait, and Dr. Renee just reminded me, she is single, divorced as well. And everyone is, out there doing what they need to do, but they're talking from experience. And although I'm not single, I did get married later, and so I kind of compare my experience as an older single person to what people are going through now. And so we had good conversations. So our conversation today, we just finished the holidays. Valentine's Day is on the way. And the single woman, man, but the single person deals with loneliness. And the question is, how do you deal with loneliness? So it's reality, right? You get lonely. And that is what I called in my book the dark side. The light side was that freedom that you feel to do whatever you want to do. You don't have to answer to anybody, ask anybody, come and go as you please, spend your money as you please. But there is that dark side of feeling lonely. And how do you deal with that?
Ben and Jerry's. No, I'm just playing. Honestly, I mean, for me, I do have moments. It's not extended because I refuse to let myself have a pity party. But from time to time, I kind of enjoy the pity party. I'll be honest.
I do too.
I do. Sometimes, some days you're just like, I'm by myself. I don't have anybody. Sweatpants, hair up in a ponytail, Ben and Jerry's, Criminal Minds, straight. I'm good for a good 2 days. And then you got to get back out of it.
But it is good to, I enjoyed the pity parties, when they would come. And you really are not having to explain anything to anybody.
Right.
And if I just want to feel like this, I'm going to feel like it, and I'm going to wallow in it right now.
That's it.
But as you said, you do have to climb out. I mean, how do you deal with the loneliness? Do you feel even bad about being lonely? If
I know, to me, in my mind, there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. One of the things, back several years ago, I used to have to go to several parties just networking for the job and everything. And I found it difficult to walk into parties alone, not knowing if anybody was going to be there. And yes, I was surrounded by 1,000 people, but I felt more alone in those times than I did being at home by myself. And honestly, those were the situations that I struggled with the most.
Being at church by yourself, it seems like everybody is bunned up.
Any sort of big social situation like that, I could find myself feeling alone much quicker than being at home. And I've learned several years ago that being alone is gonna happen. Even if you're married, even if you're living with folks, aloneness is going to happen. And I learned to have a plan for that. There's some things I enjoy doing by myself. I can cook, I can draw, I can watch TV, I can read a book, and I can occupy my time being alone. But loneliness is not necessarily who's around me as much as it is what's going on in my head at the time.
If I can bring the Christian perspective onto it, is that loneliness is always going to happen at some point in time. And when we look at Jesus's life, he was alone, and a lot of times he was lonely. He said, no one understands the burden that I'm carrying, you know, and can't you all just hang out with me just for a little bit? You know, I'm struggling here. And so sometimes, you know, from a physiological standpoint, that loneliness and the grief we feel and all of that, it's very cleansing. And so it's not really a bad thing unless you wallow in it. It can be very cleansing for the soul. You need that time where you just, okay, I can just pour myself out and I can just, you know, just say, this is where I am. But as Mindy was saying, the difference is whenever you don't know where your source comes from, and I don't have to stay here. When I can say, okay, God, you have me, and I don't get into a desperate kind of a place where I'm desperate for a man or desperate for some association or whatever. God, you can fill that, but I need to fill that void sometimes and present it before the Father so that he can fill it.
Okay.
I always say I'm the queen of loneliness because
The queen of loneliness.
no problem. Yes, I've been like widow for now 16 years, and I don't know where is the time? I mean, it passed so fast, I guess, and I don't know because I've been so busy. But I've been alone since my childhood, though I have a bunch of siblings. But that's my nature. I think a lot. I think a lot, especially at night. So, but sometimes I think that if I had somebody, I couldn't do or go or what I wanted to. So I prefer to being alone. But yes, there are moments that I get desperately alone, and I hate it. It's horrible. And I try to call everybody because I don't like much the computer thing, but I like to talk. So I go to Skype. You know, my family doesn't live here. You know, I'm far. You know, I'm from Brazil. I live in the U.S., different culture, different language, different ethnicity, everything. So I am alone. I know it is nobody's fault. But at times it's very, very hard. And those times I usually complain to God a lot. I get mad with God sometimes because, and I say, Lord, is not your grace sufficient? Why you say that? So why do I feel like this? You know, so I get mad with God. I know he doesn't get mad with me because he knows better. But it's a moment of, like you said, cleansing, you know. And I think God, it's okay also because I get closer to him when I feel those moments. So,
Are there times, like specific times, when that loneliness seems to hit more than others?
Valentine's Day.
And the holidays that has just passed, the holidays, yes, people feel very much more alone, you know, and like I say, everybody's all bunned up and you're just sort of there by yourself and you're like the third wheel or whatever. And I know how some people, you know, they don't necessarily want a boyfriend except for certain times of the year. And they'll, you know, be on the hunt during that time. And of course, men sort of shy away, you know, like, when is your birthday? Oh, well, I'm going to need to break up with you. Okay, yes. I mean, I have
Or
literally
before Christmas, anytime
Valentine,
they have to buy a gift.
Yes,
or
and they have to declare something a little bit special. It's very true, you know, and they say that. You don't get to hear that, but men do actually say that, yeah. But that can be
so we
lonely.
know that holidays have just passed, and
Yes.
and that is a prime time for
Correct.
people to to feel acute loneliness.
Yes.
But I would, sorry.
Go ahead.
But I would say that is, as talking with other ladies that are single, that is a common thing that is not exactly or specifically a husband or a boyfriend. It's like friends, girlfriends, you know. I mean, personally, I'd rather have a bunch of girlfriends than just have a man just because to cover up the loneliness. You know, it's healthier. It's I like the friend. Yesterday I had a good time with my friends and girlfriends, and it was awesome. I was like, wow, I can go home in peace.
So Ruth's taking us to the end where we talk about different things you can do to combat loneliness. No, but that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. But getting back to the holidays, you know, what is it? How do you deal with that? How do you suggest, or how have any of you dealt with that acute feeling of loneliness, specifically around holiday time?
Has been hard for me.
I was gonna say, well, yeah, your family is in Brazil, so I can understand your viewpoint, but because my family is around, usually I don't feel lonely around the holidays because I'm with my family, and so I'm good. Now, it's the other times where I will feel, you know, lonely or whatever, because I'm an introvert. I'm kind of antisocial. And so not having that outgoing personality where I'm going to spark a conversation with somebody or whatever, I have a very small circle. And then I have a small circle because I don't trust everybody. You know what I mean? So it's at different times where, you know, people are out and I'm at the house. And that's when I feel lonely, like, oh goodness, you know. And it's a good thing I do have siblings. I have nieces and stuff. So I used to have a dog, and that would be very helpful. I'm thinking about getting another dog.
Yeah.
But
I support
yeah, and you just kind of have to.
I can give you a cat.
But the family
let me
is what
stop you
makes
for a
me
minute.
lonely.
Well, okay. And you see, we've got more conversation that's itching to come out. So stay with us and make sure that you come back.
1 in 4 households.
40% of all women have never been married. Wait! Don't get weighed down in gloomy facts. Download this new ebook by Patrice Thomas Conwell. Follow her journey to accept and appreciate the single life. Nobody ever told me I might not get married. One woman's journey to acceptance. Available at these retailers and more. All right, so Dom, you were saying that during the holidays you're less lonely because you're with your family. And Renee, you started to say family makes you lonely.
Yes. Family makes me very lonely. Well, you don't have anybody yet, and when are you gonna da 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 da? And what happened to the person you were that, you know? And then I'm like, oh gee, you know, or you see some random person at dinner and you're like, okay, this is like a hookup. Okay, we see where this is headed, you know. And when I'm not around them, I'm doing and I'm going and I'm working, but certain, you know, environments, and even how you say like your girlfriends, you know, you have fun. My girlfriends, it's more like they're all, you know, out on the hunt, so to speak. You know, they may not say it, but they are. Or all we talk about is men or whatever, you know. So that's when I feel most lonely. Other than that, you know, I'm feeling
because
okay.
they're bringing it to your conscious forefront.
Yeah.
And reminding you.
Oh, that's right, I am. I didn't even realize I am lonely. I am bad, you know. Before that, it was okay. Yeah.
Well, Valentine's Day is coming up. And of course, that is the premier. That is the premier. It's not a holiday, but time when, you know, single people, you know, either hate it or love it.
Right.
And I've seen, you know, like movies or whatever where they have the Valentine's Day party where we're going to. We hate it. You dress in black. You come to throw darts at the heart balloons and all of that. And then of course, you know. So have you ever been through a Valentine's Day or something where, you know, you were feeling like totally left out?
I think pretty much every one of them. Somehow. I think there's only been like 2 Valentines in the past 15 years that I've actually been with like in a relationship or something. And I'm telling you, even the TV on Valentine's Day, like that evening, they'll have like these special Valentine's Day programs that goes into like, you know, these many statistics, and this is what's wrong with you, and this is how many divorces there are, and it's like even the TV on that day is just you it's
Christmas
can't
too,
get away.
all those Hallmark.
Christmas, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
things are all about some
Love.
magical love something.
Hallmark equals love.
Yeah, for me also, I like holidays. Valentine's, not so much because my Valentine's Day actually is in June in Brazil, so I don't know where I belong here or there, so I'm nowhere.
Wow.
So, but in my home, I can control. I don't have to watch whatever they have on TV. I can choose whatever. So I kind of control what I do because I know I have to be my best friend. So I try to manage myself because I don't need more stress. For holidays, usually because I see people having children coming over and all that. So for me, it has been that always very, very big in my family. So that's when I feel lonely the most. Valentine's,
Not so
so
much
bad.
for you. Not so much for you.
It's hard to remember feeling lonely. When you're a 17-year-old in the house, you're just never alone. You're never alone. I mean, my
And I'm
life
gonna
is so
say, for
filled
you who
with
have
people.
children,
Yeah.
is it easier to get over those humps?
I think so, simply because you don't have to. There's so much going on that you're distracted from it. You know, kind of like some people use their family as my family, Everett, is a distraction. You know, I don't even realize that it's come and gone sometimes until it's over because he had this, that, and the other to do. You know, he's got banquets and he's got this and he's got that. So sometimes I'm more concerned about his love life than my own.
Right.
That's
Well,
me.
I was blessed. My kids do something special every Valentine's. And so I'm always looking forward to like, what are they going to do? You know, and so I always get something cool for Valentine's. But I still have always wanted a man to do something, you know, and I've been one of those who can have a man, but somehow whenever it's my birthday or Christmas or Valentine's, they're not around, and I'm always around for their birthday or something. You know how that happens. Yeah, but even though my kids do, and it's always something, they always do something cool or special or whatever, it's still, you still want that, you know, society, because that's a man-made holiday, you know, that says this is the day that we're going to show
Celebrate,
love, celebrate whatever, but we still buy into that, you know.
Well, I was gonna say, this past not Thanksgiving, the one that was in 2014, yeah. That
Valentine's
was the
Day
first-
2014.
Yes,
Right.
that was the first Valentine's Day that I did not feel any kind of way. Like, I was happy and, you know, just like joyful. I took my nieces to Chuck E. Cheese. I was kind of proactive because I was just like, okay, I am not going to like act like, you know, that I'm this sad single. I think it was just simply because my mindset was different at that time.
Okay.
And then it just so happened that someone asked me out to lunch, and I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh, it's Valentine's Day. And yeah. So.
Go ahead.
No, I think for me could be even more alone, feeling more alone. Because for me, Valentine's Day in Brazil is specifically for couples. Is romantic between couples. So, but here is like friends, family,
Well, I was going to
and all
say,
that.
we kind of water it down or broaden it, I should say. We broaden it to not just be so focused on couples. I mean, and is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I kind of think it's a good thing.
I
Because
think it's a good thing.
you're celebrating love, and you can get love anywhere.
So I think
we get it that way because in school, like you bring your cars and you get everybody a car, you know. So for me, I don't just see it for me and the boo or whatever. I see, well, I'll express my love to, you know, the people who are around me, you know, at that time or whatever, whoever I want to at that time. So that's how it is. That's how it is.
well, then could be like for me, American Valentine is like family and friends, and maybe a boyfriend, and then Brazil would be the romantic one. So
Right.
Well, maybe you can.
Maybe I
you
should
know,
marry
you
a
should start
Brazilian
there you
then.
go. You should
guy.
be the one to change the Brazilian focus from
Right.
just couples to, love in
Yes.
general. Because you should treat yourself extra special, maybe on Valentine's Day, and get that massage that you've been putting off for a while, or the pampering, the spa, trip, and show yourself some love, as well as showing others. Because I don't like the fact that it's just couple oriented. I think if you're celebrating love, you can get that from so many different places. And Dom hit on a really important aspect, which is the mindset. And that we can start talking about how you can combat loneliness, and it will start with the mindset.
Right. Yeah.
Because it wasn't that you had anybody in 2014, so to speak, right?
I didn't.
But your mindset was, I am not going to be feel negative. I am not going to be pining and whining, and I'm going to take my nieces out and have a good time, and and I think that's really important. And how do you do that? How do you start the mindset? And actually, I'm throwing that question out knowing that we have to take a break. So what that means is we're going to take a break, and then we're going to start talking about how you can change your mindset and start doing some practical things to combat loneliness. So make sure you tune back in.
Okay.
So let's start with, how do you change the mindset? How do you bring your focus back to a positive perspective in order to handle those bouts of loneliness?
Well, I was going to say, for me, I had dealt with that for so long, like at least 2 years prior. So for 2014, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm over it. I'm over being depressed.
Enough is enough.
Yeah, I'm tired of crying. I'm just really going to have to trust God and live my life. And so it takes time. I'm not going to say that it was an overnight thing. When you have, when I'm going to say stinking thinking, when you have to just kill it. Like you really have to bring those things under subjection, like for real. And so for me, my struggle has always been an inward struggle or whatever. And so you just really have to battle it out on the inside, you know what I mean? Like if you go to prayer, read the Bible or whatever. For me, words of affirmation and just speaking life into myself really does help to change my whole mindset. And so that's what I did.
I like that stinking thinking. Yeah.
I know for me, after the whole, Ben and Jerry's moments, usually what happens for me is I start to come back and realize that, one, I'm never actually alone. God is always with me. And, when you're a Christian and you pray for God to be with you and you pray for the indwelling of the Holy Spirit, even inward, you are never actually alone. All the people around you might forsake you, but God is always with you. And knowing that and knowing your value and your worth to your Creator makes it a little easier to come back out of those moments. You're like, okay, well, if God thinks I'm worth it, then I think I'm worth it. And if I think I'm worth it, for whatever reason, that tends to go out. And then other people start to think, you're worth it. You can just be around. And people are like, oh my goodness, you have a glow. I just finished the weekend just being sorry for myself. But you know, having Christ in your life just makes all the difference in the world, at least for me.
Yeah. The thing is when we have pity parties, which we all do, it's all about self. And what stops loneliness in its tracks is when you start thinking of others and doing for others. And if I am so absorbed, then I know that I'm really have let Jesus a little bit out of my life somewhere, and I have got to go and help somebody, do something for someone else, and that will dispel loneliness in 2 or 3 seconds. When you are self-absorbed, God's light can't even shine through you. You know, that's when you get down on yourself and you're just so, you know, absorbed with self. And when you say, okay, Lord, that's enough of that. I've got to let you back in my life, and I've got to look outward at others, and that's when you stop being lonely.
And that is so true, because I did experience that when I was single, and I got into adult literacy. I went through training to learn how to teach adults how to read, and started working with that program. Got into mentoring, you know, middle school student, and so there's so many ways to be involved in your community,
start living your life,
you know, in your community, through your church, you know, your neighborhood, to where you're not focused on yourself.
Right.
And when you're not focused on yourself, then you forget about, you know, what you don't have.
I like to think also that things happen, that God is in control above all, that there are moments where we actually need to be alone to spend, because I like to, that's the times when I go to deep study of prophecies, things that are really, it just absorbs me. I get so excited. And also, I think about other people that really have problems, you know, and I try to get involved with other people, but also I try to analyze myself. What is it? Where is this coming from? Where, you know, childhood, whatever, you know, I try to study myself because I'm in psychology and in counseling, so I try to learn through myself. This way I can learn more about other people and try to help them as well.
Well, I have to say, there was a time in my life when, I didn't, you know, you've got to go through therapy sometimes to realize some things, but I didn't like myself. So I had a compulsive need to never be alone with myself. And I would not have been able to articulate it at the time, but I can remember the night, you know, my therapist had brought it up, and I'm like, no, it's not a problem. No, it's fine. And, you know, that next week, God just grounded me to a halt. And I was wanting to go out that night, and I literally called 30 different people I hadn't seen in forever, this, that, and the other. Folks were out of town. They didn't answer their phone. They were doing other things. They were with their family. 30 people. The odds of that, you know, that's a God thing. And I mean, I had to sit at home and cry, and I had to work through it, but I had to get to the point where I liked myself. And when you like yourself, you can spend time with yourself, and it's okay.
That's right.
And I'm now at a place in my life I can spend time with myself. I can sit and read, I can cook, I can do things, and it's not this fall apart, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me moment, because I love me now. There's not, but that was something I really had to work through. And there were times, you know, this was about, you know, 7, 8, 10 years ago, if I just was never alone. And if I was alone, it was because I was in the car leaving one person going to another, or leaving one thing going to another.
Now, Renee, you said something interesting, and I wanted to know, how do you get to the point where you see it as a cleansing? Most people don't see the going through that dark period, the crying, the being mad at God, the questioning, as a cleansing. That on the face of things, it doesn't sound like a cleansing.
Right.
How do you get to a point where you see that and appreciate it as a cleansing?
Well, the Bible says that you must be born again. You must be. That's not a suggestion. That is you have to be born.
A mandate.
Yes, a demand. Command is that you must be born again. So when we look at, and it's a cleansing that happens over and over again. It's not just this baptism and then I'm good. No, as we were talking about the different stages that we have in life, we have to purge some of those things that have happened, okay? And go through that cleansing process. And as Ruth said, sometimes you will get angry with God or with situations or whatever. And the only way you can go through that is you have to be still and know that He is God. And He's going to bring that out. And the cleansing comes from that water, comes from that crying, comes from that being alone. But you have to have that. You have to have time to reflect on different decisions that we've made, on things that we should have done differently or that we plan to do differently. The Bible, talks about being filled with the Holy Spirit. But the only way you can get filled is you have to be emptied. That's it. You can't fill a full vessel. And that also, like I said, is not just a one-time process. That's something that you go through over and over again in life. So that's why I say it is very cleansing.
So what's our takeaway? Handling loneliness. First takeaway, I think, is just know it's going to come. Just don't fight it. No, it will appear at some point in some way, and just accept the fact that that's part of being single.
It's good.
It's good.
It's very good. But alone, not only physically, no music, no TV, nothing. Be yourself with your mind. If you're comfortable with it, you're in good place.
Okay, and see it as a cleansing, not a negative thing.
And cry.
It's like when you're trying to fight off an infection.
Right.
Okay. That's what I liken it as. And you have a cold and your body's trying to fight off something, then you have to, it says you need plenty of rest, plenty of this, plenty of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then be involved, whether it's in service,
That's right.
or whether it's in some hobby or thing that you've always wanted to do, that get involved and get outside of yourself. And hopefully those will be practical things that you can use. We're always encouraging your feedback and your dialogue. So Simply Single on Facebook, at Patty Conwell on Twitter, and we hope that you'll join us next week. Bye.
Baby doll was in the dollhouse, Bobby Ken, how it's supposed to be. But it seems like something's missing from the equation, you and me. Tell me, why am I not having fun in this game we play? Well, if you're tired of trying to fight the fantasy, you need to hear what I have to say. Okay, get your dancing shoes on, we're gonna have some fun today. Hey, single people all over the world say God made me this way. Hey, you don't need nobody else to have some fun today. And just snap your fingers from side to side and say I'm